You didn't lose your wife because you couldn't communicate with her. You didn't cause her to be cold and distant because of the stress that you've been going through. And you didn't risk pushing her into another man's heart because she couldn't trust you. The reason she is going cold and pulling away is because of something you haven't even thought about. There is a specific emotion you must first make your wife feel. Now, this emotion is the focal point that allows her to feel every other positive emotion with you. And without it, you will never get her to see your changes, be intimate with you, or get the profound respect that you deserve from her. So in the next few minutes, I'm gonna give you 3 advanced psychological habits to solve all of your problems with her, to have her fall madly and deeply in love with you again. My first task here is to persuade you that this one key emotion is the one that opens all the other gates. And to do that, I have to teach you about the 2 men she wants you to be that causes her to feel that way. Now, attraction and love is a biological process based on thousands of years of evolution. To put it simply, we choose partners to maximally optimize for the health of our children. Now, and when choosing a woman, physically, that is her curves and facial symmetry. Psychologically, it's things like kindness, happiness, femininity, and submission. But what about for a woman? What does she want? You see, women have had a massive dilemma over the years. They have a much higher threshold and standards for the man that comes into their life. And it's a larger cost to get with a man who is inherently lower value. And the reason why that is because if he isn't a good father, then she's screwed. Therefore, women have found ways to maximize this value. And for most women, they cannot get a man who was both a provider with resources and kindness and a man who could provide good genetics. Thus, they develop something called the dual mating strategy or strategic pluralism that's talked about in the book, Sex at Dawn. Essentially, to be reductionistic here, she will find a man with all the resources and support, and then when she's ovulating, she'll go find an alpha male that gives her the genetic contributions. And studies by Genghis even show that when a woman is with a long-term provider, beta male, she will get upset and fight with him during her ovulation phase. Now, when most people hear this idea, they get pretty bent out of shape saying things like, well, that means all women are going to eventually leave you, or she's not yours, it's just your turn. Or like, she's just gonna upgrade to a better guy when she gets the opportunity. At the end of this video, I'll dismantle all those beliefs to make you feel safe and secure, but let's first look at this practically and how it applies to you and your wife. All right, let's talk about the lover-provider matrix here, right? So you see, it says provider yes or provider no, lover yes, lover no, and you have the 4 different types of men that she responds to. Let's start with what the lover is. The lover is that masculine man that makes her feel feminine. That's called polarity. When there's polarity, there's sexual attraction, chemistry, and desire. Now, the reason why he does this is because if he leads her, he dominates her, he turns her on. He makes her feel safe enough to let go, to stop thinking, to be in the present moment. And when a woman can relax and be in the present moment, not be overanalyzing everything and just like caught up in her emotions, all that stuff, she turns herself on, period. The emotions that the man provides her, the lover, is just raw attraction, just want to rip your clothes off, submission as well. Now with the provider, his behavior is nice, generous, empathetic, and compassionate. When you're a provider male, what you're doing is you're making her feel secure and safe with you. This can create friendship and long-term commitment. All right, so the first bottom corner is Randy roommate. This man is a good provider male, but he doesn't bring in the lover component. You can tell that you are in this phase and this man, if there's no sex, she's criticizing you and testing you more often, she's pressing up against your boundaries, and she lacks respect for you. This is the majority of the men I work with, which is why I teach them those apex masculine skills to lead their wife, to be unreactive, to pass her test. And if you want the best passing test video here on the internet, stay to the end of the video and you'll see that one. Okay, the next component is Mr. Fling. This guy provides the lover traits, but none of the provider traits. He is like the bartender or the DJ or whatever it is. He's just fun in the moment. A woman may sleep with this guy, but she doesn't want to really continue the relationship with him because he just doesn't feel safe and secure. And she knows that he's going to go off to the next woman and he's avoidant. And this is kind of that boy mentality, not really a man, because really he's afraid of commitment and being vulnerable with women. We rarely work with these guys, but you can tell a man is in this component if the woman is constantly just being jealous and insecure and constantly testing him about his freedom, right? She wants to control this guy. She feels insecure that he's going to go out and just sleep with any woman that walks around because he kind of conveys that raw attraction. So she's assuming, the wife is, that every woman is just hitting on him and he's hitting on a woman and he's just cheating and it's really bad. All right, the bottom corner is no lover, no provider, and this is Dr. Divorce. This man satisfies no needs for the woman he's with. So infidelity is the natural response down the line. She doesn't feel safe or turned on by him. And the 2 main skills that this man lacks is the masculinity component and also emotional intelligence. And oftentimes the core reason why a man cannot meet his woman's needs is because he has shame in himself. He doesn't feel good enough and there's some deep work that he needs to do. Now the man that provides the lover component and the provider, this is the apex male. This is the top 1% of men that very few guys actually embody in a relationship. This man knows how to lead, provide, and protect. He never questions his values around her. And whenever she goes against his boundaries, he knows how to pass her test and assert his boundaries without fear of conflict. There was profound respect, admiration, tons of sex, and she feels lucky to be with him. The core emotion that they experience together is just joy, growth, compassion, excitement. This is where majority of men are when they first meet the woman that they're with, because they are in their peak loving masculine state, and then they slowly become complacent over the years. Now, if you resonate with 3 out of 4 of those guys, then let me teach you 3 core skills you must master to become the apex male. Now, before I go into these skills, I just want to say none of this will work if you don't have a starting point of pure perspective. An example of not having pure perspective are the majority of the men that first come to work with us when their wife is saying, I'm not in love with you anymore, or things are falling apart, I need some space, or whatever it is, there's another guy in the picture. They will look at all the things she complained about logically, and they'll start focusing on those things. They'll try to come home more often. They will bring her flowers. They will do all these things, follow her around, say, hey, let's just work on this. And the thing is that when they're in that negative sentiment, which means that she's viewing you as more of the villain than the hero in her life, there's nothing you can actually do to fix things. And a lot of guys, the analogy I oftentimes give is that imagine a tree and all these branches, right? And the branches are all the things she complained about, whether it's like, oh, money, religion, or you didn't do enough chores, you didn't do things around the house as much, finish projects, you came home late, whatever the fact may be, those are all branches on the tree. And a lot of guys start cutting the branches off, trying to fix things, but none of it works because at the core root of all of it, there is a disconnect. And there are things about that man that he has to focus on himself and work on before the relationship naturally heals and grows, bearing fruit of love, sex, admiration, respect, so on. All right, after you have pure perspective, the first skill you want to master is called creating containment. Now I'm going to tell you a story about this through analogy as well. So you have to develop the bird's nest over the bird's cage with your wife. What do I mean by this? Let me give you an example. So I had a client tell me the other day that his wife and him were at a party, right? They're at this function, and it was a concert, I believe. And he went to the bathroom. He came back, got some drinks, going to give them to his wife. Things were going pretty well up until that point, and he saw his wife talking to another man. Okay. Now, in that scenario, there are a couple things that you could do. Now, having zero nest, having zero boundaries is the majority of the men that I would work with. And what that would look like is they would sit back and kind of watch their wife as a test, seeing what she would do when she doesn't see, right? Seeing like, okay, like what is she gonna do when I'm not around? That is coming from a place of insecurity, because then what will happen is that when she comes back up to him, they meet, he will actually not assert or express how he feels about that situation. He'll be disconnected, he'll be in his head, he'll be shut down. She'll feel it, she'll ask what's wrong, he'll say nothing, and he's being insecure. He's lacking self-love to not express how he really feels, okay? And lacking value. Now, the bird cage is showing too much control. This is the guy that will walk over to her, grab her by the hand, pull her away, or walk up to her and be like, what are you doing? Right? And just get really pissed off. They get into a big fight. He's like, you can't talk to guys like that. That's so disrespectful, blah, 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 blah. That's being too controlling. So what does the bird nest look like? The bird nest, what that would look like is he may start off by just looking at her, seeing the conversation finishes. But then if the man does something that makes him feel weird or insecure or jealous, which is a natural response with someone that you love. Let's say the guy puts his arm on her shoulder. He will calmly walk up, stand next to her. He may put his arm around his wife or kiss her on the cheek, but he'll just stand there with the underlying just assumption non-verbally, like, hey, we're together, right? And if your wife really loves you and respects you, she will then, give you a hug or a kiss or make it known also non-verbally that you two are together. And that's it. You won't feel insecure. You won't be controlling. You won't hold it in. But maybe when you go home, you'll also express like, hey, I felt a little jealous when you were talking to that guy. And, moving forward, if you're talking to a guy like that, I would actually like you to, say you have a husband pretty early on. And that is an honest request. And that's what it looks like to have your boundaries, right? To let her know what's acceptable without being controlling and trying to pick that cage over her to make her feel like she's being controlled. The second skill that will put you into the apex male is called loving leadership. Now, as an experiment, right? I'm going to give you a powerful exercise that you're going to do starting today or tomorrow, depending on when you're watching this, with your wife, and you're going to see how powerful this is. I want you to consciously, not just with your wife, make more decisions throughout the day. Normally, if someone says like, where do you want to go eat, or what time do you want to have dinner, or what should we do with the kids, or when whatever it is, whenever there's an opportunity to take action and be a leader and make a decision, you are going to do it just as a test, right? If you want your wife to follow you, if you want your wife to believe you, if you want your wife to be influenced by you, persuaded by you, you have to start leading. You have to act like a leader. She will follow if you lead, right? The moment you stop leading, the moment she takes charge and becomes masculine, She no longer trusts you. She can no longer rely on you. It's like she's dating another woman. You see what I mean? So as an experiment, and look, she can disagree with you. You guys can have a conversation about what it's about, but you are always stating what you want. You are taking the lead. You are even saying, hey, like even when it comes to just things that she's not even asking about. Let's say for dinner, hey, we're going here. I made reservations at this time. You're coming with me, okay? Even if she says no, you are still taking the action and showing that you are a leader. The third skill is being the shore to her ocean. Now, the feminine is like an ocean in that sometimes when she's happy and feminine, she'll be brushing up at you, gently caressing you. It feels good. But other times when the winds of emotions and anger and jealousy or whatever it is pops up, she crashes into you. As the masculine apex man, you are unreactive, right? Unreactive means you do not react to her. You do not give back or amplify her emotions. It is in the feminine to agree and amplify. So if you are reacting to her, getting angry, getting upset when she brings that emotion to you, you are falling into the feminine. You are not a strong shore. You are crumbling apart in front of her, okay? It is feminine to be angry, to be reactive, to be yelling, whatever it is, okay? It is a strong masculine man that is able to keep his calm composure and make her feel safe in the process, that when she's in her emotional storms, feeling unsafe herself, feeling discalibrated, her nervous system is acting up, if you can be that guy, that is that polar, strong magnet that brings her closer to your calm compassion, you're her safe space. You're her magnet. You're her everything to be able to do that, to offer her that skill. And one of the best ways to express this is to be able to pass her test. The final thing I want to say to you is that if you want that pure perspective of yourself, to not do the wrong things and go the wrong direction, and instead get immediate action the correct way, set up a call with our marriage evaluation team down below. Make sure you are fully committed to saving your marriage, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.